Hey there everyone, what's up and welcome back to another video on Streaming Star. Outer Banks came to the Netflix screens back in early 2020, and the response it got was tremendously enthusiastic. With such a viewer base, you all could expect Netflix to renew the series for its season 2. After all, why on earth would Netflix let go of such a good opportunity? But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out on anything. Alright, let's get to it. Though people of the Bay Area would get to resonate a bit more than the rest of the show, the storyline of the series was so exciting that it got everyone's attention. With a terrific choice of cast and setting, the series outshone its expectations. This particular season that came out in 2020 specifically had a lot of competition in its way, and since it was Netflix's originals that provided with the toughest of competitions, Outer Banks did not have an easy way with getting a renewal for the second season, though generally series that outperform their minimal expectations are usually renewed. 2020 was not a very smooth year to come to a simple conclusion like that. In addition to that, you had Netflix's servers going down in Europe and the rest of the world due to high demand. And with so many other streaming networks lurking in the competitive market, Netflix had to give in its best. Now, having all that considered, Netflix renewing this series really means a huge deal. Now coming to the real deal. Netflix renewed Outer Banks 2 back on May 4, 2020, as stated by Jon Pate. Though this might seem like an oddly normal announcement, it actually came out in a series of events. There was one Rotten Tomato user who knew precisely how things were going to turn out, and thus, just 3 days before the official announcement, he broke the news that there was a 95% chance of Netflix renewing the season 2. Now, how that Rotten Tomato user got to that conclusion is simply unknown, but the fact that he got to such a conclusion is quite extraordinary. Nevertheless, what concerns us is the fact that Outer Banks got confirmed for a second season, and now we will be getting into the details about that. The main question over here, although, is whether it would be coming out anytime soon or not, especially considering the fact that the world is in a pandemic situation right now. There is a huge question regarding the shooting of the Outer Banks Season 2. With almost all of the shootings off due to the restrictions faced by the governmental organizations for the safety of the cast and the crew, you all definitely must be wondering if the show is going to be getting prepared anytime soon. The answers to all of those queries are only answerable by the cast members of the show or the directors themselves and no one else. And if we get into what they say about the show, we get to see that they have in fact started shooting for the second season, but they have to be extra cautious because of the governmental obligations put out for them. According to what the crew members say, they started shooting back on the 31st of August 2020, and the series would be again filmed in Charleston, South Carolina. With a harbor that magnificent in Charleston City, anything produced out of that place is going to be equally marvelous. One of the reasons why the shooting of this show was able to restart a bit earlier than usual was probably because of the fact that South Carolina was comparatively less badly hit by the pandemic, which might be the reason the filming authority allowed for it to restart the filming comparatively earlier. Another point to add about the Outer Banks Season 2 is that the production office is looking for a few extras, and therefore they have opened the positions of extras for the show. Though not everyone would be able to make it to the show, at least a lot of people would still get the chance. And since the roles have been recently put up in advertisement, there is a possible chance for a lot of you out there to make the cut. Though I must add, those only people who live nearby or could accommodate a living nearby would be able to easily get into this show, sort of favoring the people of South Carolina in this manner. But the fact that this would be happening would not be usual. But the thing is, the scenery and the location that we get to see in the Outer Banks episodes is not really the Outer Banks Islands of North Carolina, which were essentially supposed to be that place, because the novel takes its name from it. As the cast members stated in an interview with Holy Wire, the Outer Bank authorities did not let them film over there, and thus they had to improvise and move to Charleston. But as we have stated, Charleston itself is a wonderful place, and it is a good enough alternative to the real Outer Banks Islands. The creator of the show spoke of this difference in a very smart manner. He explained that just as Star Wars is based on space, but it still takes in this world, Outer Banks similarly is based on a place in North Carolina's Outer Banks settings. It still takes place in a different location that basically resembles and reminds the viewers of the actual location. Another cool part about the Outer Banks series is that the show itself is supposed to have at least 4 seasons. According to the novel it is based upon, which means that if everything remains smooth and steady, there would be not much to worry about, and all the Outer Banks fans out there would end up enjoying not just 1 or 2 seasons, but 4 seasons at minimum. And if a sequel comes out or the writer expands the storyline with some additional drama, then we could even end up having a couple of seasons more of the show. Now this all depends on the popularity of the show and how much people keep liking the show, which means that the director and the crew members need to do a terrific job in order to impress everyone out there. The basic thing is Netflix essentially looks into all the possible viewership the show is bringing to the streaming network, and if it happens to be huge or significant enough, then it obviously renews the season. Similar would obviously be the case of Outer Banks, and thus for it to get extended for a couple of seasons more would require some significant amount of fan base. Maybe this might be the reason why the production team is bringing in newer villains to the show, which would spice things up and add some extra flavor to the show. And since this show is all about crimes and villains, and some romance and drama too, getting in a bunch of extra bad guys would not hurt at all. As for now, all we can say is that there is definitely going to be a second season for the show, but whether it is going to have a third or even a fourth is still unknown. This brings us to the end of our video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, then let us know by liking the video. Stick around for more amazing content, as we will be soon seeing you in another video. Until then, take care and goodbye.